In 1996, Square Enix released the first game in what would become one of their most popular franchises, Tomb Raider. An action-adventure game starring Lara Croft as the titular character with her iconic dual pistols. The character was heavily inspired by the action-adventure archaeologist Indiana Jones. The series saw Croft on archaeological expeditions for lost civilizations and artifacts across various continents. 27 years, 18 games, and 3 films later, the character of Lara Croft remains recognizable to the gaming world. Despite her prestigious status as the #1 female protagonist in video games, Square Enix made the risky decisions to reboot the franchise in 2013. This decision was made in an effort to streamline the muddled continuity and re-establish the legendary heroine from a modern gaming lens. The franchise would simply be titled Tomb Raider and would be released March 5th, 2013 on PS3, Xbox 360, PC, and Mac. The game received massive praise and reinvented the franchise in a new and exciting way. As we come upon the game's 10-year anniversary, I wanted to analyze what the 2013 entry did to reassert the series as a top competitor in the action-adventure genre by looking at the story, gameplay, setting, and legacy of the franchise. The story of 2013's Tomb Raider opens with a quote, "The extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are." As a young, inexperienced Lara Croft is hurled off her ship, the Endurance, she starts to swim to the local island where she finds her friends have washed ashore. Suddenly, she is knocked out and awakes in a damp, mysterious cave, hanging upside down. She eventually frees herself and starts to make her escape out of the cave, finding cult-like sacrifices surrounding her at every step. As she exits the cave to see sunlight against her bloody and bruised body, the landscape around her is numerous wreckages of planes and ships from varying eras of history. This island is dangerous. Lara makes her way inland, traversing rusted plains and other dangerous landscapes before later finding a camp to restore herself at. As she watches back her friend Sam's videotapes detailing how the ship was an archaeological expedition for Yamatai. Through the tapes, we learn Lara urges the crew to go east to find the lost island, right in the Dragon's Triangle, to which Roth agrees. Lara feels a sense of guilt for stranding her crew here, but decides to push forward after hearing Roth over the radio, who reassures her. Due to Laura's father passing at a young age, Roth is the father figure in her life and encourages Lara when she most needs it. Thus, she pushes onwards towards the group, reuniting with her friend Sam, who is with the stranger Matthias. The man exudes an eerie presence and conveys that the crew is not alone on the island. Matthias says an antagonist is creepy. While not the most iconic villain, he serves his purpose to be instantly mysterious. He shows an interest in the legend of Himiko, but players know he is playing dumb. Lara dozes off and awakens to Matthias and Sam having disappeared, but the rest of the crew show up to help Lara search for Sam. Dr. Whitman and Lara make their way through an old temple to be ambushed by the Solari Brotherhood. Whitman surrenders. After escaping the armed men, Lara contacts Roth and they rendezvous at some ruins nearby. Roth is gravely injured, fending off a pack of wolves that Lara eventually takes down to rescue him. Roth assigns Lara with taking his transmitter to the top of the radio tower, and reassures her she can do it, handing her his climbing axe. Lara makes her way through the caverns and cliffsides, stopping at a few camps and watching Sam's documentaries, in which Roth tells her to trust her great instincts. As Lara makes her way to the tower, she realizes the buildings around her are World War II-era Japanese bunkers with decaying support. Soon, Lara reaches the radio tower, climbing the monstrous rusted metal triumphantly as she sends out a signal, and to her and the player's relief, receives one back. They just need a visual on the crew's location, is what the pilot says. As Lara descends, her face lighting up like a beacon of hope, the plane descends when suddenly storm clouds form around it. Lightning strikes the rescue. She rushes to save the surviving pilot, shocked by the storm that came out of nowhere, questioning her reality. If the myths she knew were just myths or something more. Roth questions Lara as she explains the seemingly impossible, to which Lara carries a weight of guilt for bringing more people here just to see them get injured. Roth understands her guilt but reassures her that it's not her fault, stating she can't save everyone, that's a sacrifice one has to make. But Lara, headstrong and hopeful, sets out to rescue the pilot, eventually finding an ancient temple detailing the Yamatai pilgrimage, and then she finds the body of the dead pilot murdered by the Solari Brotherhood. Matthias reveals himself once more, showing he is their leader, and orders Laura's execution. Suddenly, a new enemy arises, the Storm Guard, protectors of Queen Himiko and Yamatai, decimating the present Solari cultists as Laura is knocked out. She wakes up surrounded by bloody corpses from presumably the Oni, making her careful escape away. During this exit, Laura falls into a tomb to which she proclaims, "I hate tombs," quickly discovering the tomb is Himiko's and the island is Yamatai. This moment's very self-aware, but I smirk whenever I see it, as it reinforces how early Lara Croft is in her legendary journey to becoming the Tomb Raider we know her as. Within the tomb, Lara discovers the ancient murals of Himiko's ascension ritual for her successors. Making her way out of the tomb, Laura reconnects with Sam to learn she's being held captive by the Solari Brotherhood in an old Japanese palace, and they mention a fire ritual. After hearing this information, Laura rushes down the mountain to save her friend, falling down a waterfall to parachuting in the tree line, only to become gravely injured upon landing. Seeking medical supplies in a local shanty town, and then cauterizing her own wound, getting ready to rescue her close friend. After healing herself, she makes contact with Roth as she informs him of her location in an old shanty town, and he is still coming down the hill. Laura soon encounters enemies at the town, eventually meeting up with her fellow crewmate Grim. Laura attempts to reach Grim, who's eventually killed by the Solari Brotherhood, in order to make her surrender. As she makes her way up to the palace, Roth snipes over her, protecting her from nearby attackers. This reinforces the father-figure relationship that the pair has. Laura escapes the shanty town, making her way into geothermal caverns to see Matthias preaching to his followers that he intends to help them escape Yamatai. In order to fulfill his plan, he must release Himiko by killing Sam. Laura is then ambushed but swims through a river of blood to escape, warning the caves are filled with a natural, flammable gas. She eventually finds her fellow crewmates, rescuing Reyes, Jonah, and Alex, where she informs them of Grimm's death, Sam's capture, and Whitman's apparent absence. Following the rescue, she ascends up to the burning Solari Palace, eventually finding Matthias' notes about the Ascension ritual, curious to his exact interest. Laura finds Whitman moving freely around as he wasn't seen as threatening by the Solari Brotherhood. Laura finds Sam being told by Matthias of the ritual and her vital importance. She reunites with Sam as she fights her way out of the compound, escaping via helicopter, to which Laura states to the pilot they can't leave and they need to land immediately. Moments after she says it, the plane crashes and Roth meets his death due to Matthias. With his dying breath, Roth reassures Laura, as he's done all game, by saying, "You're a Croft." On a beach nearby, the crew lights a funeral pyre for Roth as they honor his memory. The remaining Endurance crew decides to fix the old PT boat on the beach and tell Laura they need her to lead them. This is her chance to step up when she's needed most. Laura starts to connect that the storms and the ritual chamber must be connected. And to stop the storms, they must go inland with the PT boat. While I've replayed the game, the story has telegraphed this several times, so it should be quite obvious. That's most likely a narrative flaw or personal gripe with the story, but overall, I think the game is pretty solid. It was just very obvious that Himiko and the storms were related. Eventually, Laura descends down the beach from the shanty town, informing Sam of her discovery with the ritual chamber. After reuniting with the crew of the Endurance and attempting to help them get the boat working, they later hear Whitman racing towards them as gunfire is heard. An angry Laura sets off in search of Alex, who's aboard the Endurance wreckage. She uncovers the facilities on the island where to investigate the Himiko storms along with several World War II era bunkers. She fights her way onto the Endurance, finding a graduation pic of her and Sam, then a mirror, staring at the completely different person she has become since being stranded on Yamatai. She finds an injured Alec as the ship starts sinking, and he dies a hero's death to help Laura and the others. With 3 of her crewmates dead, Laura refuses to let anyone else die. She informs the crew of Alex's passing, reiterating to the group that they must destroy Himiko's remains to leave. Laura heads off in search of the old ruins she read about. After ascending to the research base, she soon uncovers a general who committed seppuku for failing the Sun Queen. His failure came at the cost of revealing the chosen priestess who committed suicide, leading to her soul decaying in her body. Her rage became the storms, and will not stop while her soul is tied to the earth. Laura concludes that to stop the storms, she must destroy the remains. Seconds later, the Solari Brotherhood ambushes her and the crew, with Laura fighting her way back to them, learning that Sam has been kidnapped once again by Whitman. With Laura vowing to rescue her at the ritual chamber, Laura departs the monastery, seeing Whitman be slain by storm guards, as Matthias eludes them with Sam. Sneaking her way to the top of the monastery, taking down cultists and storm guard soldiers, Laura finds Matthias performing the ascension ritual, ultimately taking him down with his own gun. This scene is perfect, as it's an homage to the iconic character fans know and love. While Laura never uses double guns as her primaries in the later games, this acknowledgement of the past makes me genuinely happy every time I see it. Laura rescues Sam as the weather clears up, letting them finally leave. Laura reflects on the journey she's had from innocent girl to survivor, understanding now that myths and reality share common truths she vows to uncover. The 2013 Tomb Raider reboot succeeded in its ultimate goal of reinventing the franchise, starting with the most critical aspect of the player experience: gameplay. Unlike its predecessors and other successful games in the genre, such as Uncharted or Far Cry, the Tomb Raider version places less emphasis on combat in large open areas and instead focuses on Laura's personal journey. In previous Tomb Raider games, the level design was primarily a series of large rectangular rooms, which players would traverse around sequentially. However, the Tomb Raider reboot draws inspiration from Uncharted's theatrical set pieces, resulting in a more cinematic experience. By incorporating current gaming trends while still honoring the original games, the reboot effectively reinvents the iconic depiction of Lara Croft, replacing her dual Berettas with a combat bow and a climbing axe. While the game does include automatic weapons, it also offers new weapon types that grant players a multitude of choices in how to approach the problem. They can take the stealthy and tactical approach, using the axe or bow to pick off enemies one by one, or go in guns blazing. This choice is critical as it allows players to express themselves through their preferred playstyle without being restricted by the game's limits. The game's base camps also incorporate abilities and upgrades, allowing players to focus on specific attributes that fit their playstyle or upgrade their preferred weapons through the weapon parts to unlock better variants. These upgrades are generally acquired through exploration, which is highly encouraged but not forced upon by players. Similarly, one of the most distinctive aspects of the game is its death animations, which depict Laura's demise in graphic detail, such as being crushed by a boulder or impaled by spikes. While these moments are certainly explicit and gruesome, they also serve as a stark reminder of the game's intensity and the direction the franchise is taking. They add a sense of realism and danger to the gameplay, as players must be careful to avoid hazards and make strategic decisions to survive. Overall, while the gameplay in the 2013 reboot doesn't revolutionize the modern gaming landscape, it does effectively utilize mechanics that would become industry standards in the years to come. The result is an enjoyable experience that successfully reinvents the franchise while still paying homage to its roots. In addition to its successful gameplay and story, the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot also stands out for its varied and immersive setting. Each entry's locale offers a distinct and engaging experience for players, from the mysterious shipwrecked island to the snowy Himalayan mountains and the lush South American jungle. These locations not only provide a backdrop for the action, but also serve as integral parts of the story, with each offering unique challenges and opportunities for players to explore. The rebooted trilogy drew heavy inspiration from the Uncharted series in its use of specific locales to create memorable gaming experiences. However, the Tomb Raider franchise has a rich history of exploring new and exotic locations, dating back to the original games. For the 2013 reboot, however, the development team chose the island of Yamatai as the primary setting, carefully crafting a story and environment that fit with Lara's new origins and equipment. Yamatai's rich history and mystery serve as a driving force for players to explore and uncover its secrets, from the feudal Japanese buildings to the World War II era bunkers. The island is a treasure trove of history and culture waiting to be discovered. The developers' attention to detail and blending various historical periods and architecture style create a cohesive and believable world that players can easily immerse themselves in. Overall, the setting of the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot plays a critical role in the game's success, providing a rich and engaging backdrop for the gameplay and story. By carefully choosing and crafting each location, the development team created a gaming experience that is both immersive and memorable. Lastly, the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot was a breath of fresh air not only for established fans, but it also attracted countless new fans, such as myself. Rather than being a mere recreation of the first game, it was a reimagining of Lara Croft's origins, while simultaneously paying homage to the franchise roots and inspiring other games in the genre. The developers at Crystal Dynamics were willing to reinvent and innovate beyond previous limits, pushing the boundaries for one of the most iconic video game protagonists. Despite previous controversies surrounding Lara Croft's sexualization in other installments, the 2013 entry ignored preconceived notions and developed Lara's motivation and drive as a character. Although the developers were initially hesitant about rebooted entries, they understood the importance of remaining faithful to the source material while also pivoting Lara in a better direction. Accomplishing this feat was not an easy task, but Crystal Dynamics succeeded, releasing their most successful Tomb Raider title since the franchise debuted in 1996 and giving Lara Croft a game that is truly worthy of her legacy in the industry.